compete for playing time this year. Although I think redshirted 21 or 22 guys from last year's class. So we got a lot of bodies to work with, but there is some very talented players here. Four parade All-Americans. I don't know if we've ever signed four before, but Darius English, Brandon Nosovich, Shaq Rowland, and Brock Stadnick were parade All-Americans. Brendan Nosovich, he's an interesting quarterback. He broke all the records up in Pennsylvania. Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, I think, had held some of them. And so he's the all-time leading passer in state history up there. And he was only a three-star. I asked GA or somebody, I said, how come he's only a three-star? He made parade All-American, broke all these records. And they said, well, he didn't go to all these camps all over the country to get rated by whoever does all that kind of stuff. So anyway, Brendan, we think is really a good passer that is going to help us down the road here whenever. We'll see when that happens. But other than that, another thing I like about all these players, every player that officially committed to us stuck. We didn't have any defections or anything like that. So it was neat. They all stuck with us from the beginning. And statistics show that players that stick to their commitment usually stick in college. Those that change around 2 or 3 times, a lot of times they change colleges too. So I think we've got a good class of young men that will represent our school in a first-class manner, on the field and off. Okay, any questions?
Steve Jr., Rick Stockstill told me one time that part of the problem with Blue Holtz is that you didn't really recruit to their needs all the time. You guys feel like you filled your position needs?
I would like to hope that that's one of our philosophies here, to recruit to our needs, and certainly I think we've been fortunate enough to have had some success on the field and to have built some facilities around here that have put us competitive with everybody that we're recruiting against. So when we bring a young man in, he realizes he's got an opportunity to play at the highest level and to win at the highest level. So we've been selective with who we've recruited, and certainly we feel like we fit our needs this year.
Steve, you mentioned before that these guys stuck to their commitment. Do you feel like, what does that say about this program where maybe in other years, that didn't happen as much? Do you feel like when you go in to talk to some of these guys, they are paying attention and they are ready to, be part of South Carolina and what you built these last few years?
Yeah, again, we've certainly got more to offer than we ever have here at South Carolina. We got a track record for winning, got a track record for graduating our players, and playing, in the SEC and so forth. And plus the facilities here now, right there, as good as about anybody in the country. So we got a good football program, and our job is to keep it going, keep pushing, trying to get better. Obviously, we had a super year last year, wins and losses, but we got to try to do better. If you don't try to do better, you're going the wrong direction. So this will be a year we'll try to do better than we did last year. See what happens.
Question for Steve Jr. You guys had an unbelievable amount of success in Georgia this year recruiting. I think just about every player you recruited is the top 7,500 player in the state. Was Georgia, early on, you target Georgia as an emphasis in getting that state, and talk about the job that Coach Ward did recruiting Georgia?
Yeah, obviously Coach Ward did a wonderful job over there and really hustled. He recruited hard all over the place all year long, and obviously for the last 3 years he's built the relationships to be in a position to sign all those guys. But Georgia's always a state that has a lot of players. I think, I'm not sure exactly if it was last year or the year before, but Georgia sent more players from the state of Georgia to the SEC than any other state. So we've always known there's a lot of players in that state. We want to recruit South Carolina first, the best we can. And I believe this year, I'm trying to think the number of highly rated players was a little lower this year than in the past. And we knew Georgia at the beginning of the year would be a year we need to recruit hard to have a really successful year.
Steve Jr., 2 questions. Number one, it seemed like there were a lot more recruits who were committing earlier. I didn't know if that helped them stick, as your father was saying. And then secondly, how important is it to be able to evaluate the talent at camps? I saw you in several of your comments say, hey, we had a chance to see this player at camp and see what they could do.
Yeah, actually, they did a study, the earlier people commit, the more likely they are to decommit. So that's actually a little different there. But this year we had 16 guys that committed at the end of the summer, and which was the most we've ever had. I think the year before we had 6. And really what it's done is it's changed the way we offer people. And now when we offer a young man in the summer, I mean, there's a chance he may commit to us. So you better make sure that's the player you want. And recruiting's changed a little bit too. In the summer, you need to make sure you get them on your campus, and you need to really try to get them to a camp and evaluate them. And camps have really changed. You know, you used to have 3 or 4 3-day camps and invite 500 people to them, and you know, it was more for kind of fun than it was really evaluations. And now, and really it kind of started with the economy. You know, there weren't 500 kids coming to camp anymore, and it became very specific to have camps where you evaluate people. And be very position specific and very much recruiting specific when you get those guys on your campus in the summer.
Steve Senior, do you take a certain pride in signing the best player in your state?
4 years in a row? Oh, certainly. Certainly. To get Mr. Football again this year is neat. And really looking back, Stephon Gilmore being the first really helped us 4 years ago, because we just come off, I think, the Outback Bowl where we played like crap, and I was hoping, man, I hope somebody doesn't get a hold of Stephon and get him out of here. But he was a mid-year guy, so he came in January, and he stuck with us. And he stuck, and then Marcus Lattimore, and then Clowney, and now Shaq Rowland. So, and they've all been outstanding players and will continue to be. So, yeah, that's pretty neat that we've been able to do that.
Okay, first, Steve, junior and senior. Only 5 guys in the state, and that's not very many, but Steve Jr., you adequately explained that there just wasn't, you know, a lot of talent, I guess, depth-wise. But do you have to really be good, as you guys have the last couple of years, to do as well as you did out of state with only 5 in-state guys?
Well, there are probably more players in state. Some left state, some went to Clemson, but there's still a lot of guys in state that do well. But Georgia's just a state that has more players. So, you know, at the end of the day, we knew it would be a year that we'd probably sign a few more out of state. But no, there's still plenty of players in the state that are excellent players. And we know that if we're going to become as good a team as we can be, that we have to recruit this state very well. So that's always one of our ultimate goals at the beginning and end of every year.
I think we signed about 10 from South Carolina last year, didn't we? Wasn't it 9, 10, something
Yes.
like that? Okay, it's just one of those years it worked out like that.
Yeah.
And as we all know, the state of South Carolina has 4.5 million. Greater Atlanta, 50-mile radius, has 5.5 million. So just the numbers right there show you there's a bunch of ball players in Georgia, in the Atlanta area. Obviously, they can't all go to Georgia. And we're about 2.5 to 3 hour drive, perfect distance, and really perfect distance to go to college, I think. So it's a pretty good little pipeline over in that area.
Speaking of pipelines, Junior, where do you think that you've made some inroads in some new areas of the country to recruit, and what areas are you looking to maybe build more in the next coming years?
Well, obviously with Coach Magnus, we've made a decent amount of inroads in the Northeast, signing 5 in the last 2 years. But I think the majority of our recruits will continue to be kind of from the Southeast. We try to stay in our market as much as we can, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. It'll be interesting to see if we cross into Texas much now with Texas A&M. And there are a few people we've contacted from that state. But I still think in the long term, we're going to try to stay closest to our state and the surrounding states to us. And in the Northeast.
Steve Senior, can you talk about Shaq Rowland, what you like about him as a football player?
Okay, but Steve Jr. might be able to talk to you a little bit more about him because he is a wide receiver and so forth. I got a chance to watch the first half of one of their games this year against Tommy Knox. No, Touchford, yeah. And I think he caught 1 or 2 touchdowns the first half of that game, so I got a chance to watch him run and play and compete and so forth. And he'll have a chance to come in here and compete and go from there. As with the other receivers, Quentin Smith's a big, tall kid from the Dillon area that's very talented, as well as Jody Fuller. So But Shaq is, you know, he's got that burst of speed that you can't coach, and he's a talented young man. So we'll allow all these guys to earn their way as they go.
Steve Junior, your dad had kind of addressed the needs there at wide receiver and the number of guys you landed there and the opportunities for playing kind of that spot. Where did you feel like your most pressing needs were? It looks like you landed, I guess, 6 defensive backs and you're putting Diggs, that looks like a spur, but and then the 5 offensive linemen. But how much of a need did you feel like those 2 areas were in? Could you talk about some of the guys in those spots, especially in defensive backfield, who might have?
Yeah, we felt those were our biggest needs coming in. Going into last year, I think we signed a lot of defensive linemen, so we knew this year we wouldn't be as heavy in that area. Offensive line is always a need. You'd like to sign 5 every year. 5 or 6 offensive linemen every year would really be great. And those guys seem to be in the lowest supply and in the highest demand, really. So it's hard to find 5 great ones, but we definitely try to do our best there. Defensive backs we knew would be a need in the secondary and also for special teams. Those guys are usually your best contributors there. So Coach Ward did an excellent job. Something neat about Coach Ward is he likes guys a little bigger, a little taller, and we evaluated a bunch of guys, and Coach Ward picked out a bunch of guys he really liked and really went after them hard. But we think that's an excellent group that can help us on defense and in special teams.
I'll tell you 2 players also to look out for, the 2 tight ends. Jarrell Adams, who didn't quite make it academically last year, went up to Fork Union, got qualified. He's going to be here in May or June of this year. Jarrell Adams, a big 6'6" kid, had a tremendous Shrine Bowl game. I don't know if y'all remember, I think he caught 7 or 8 passes or something 2 years ago in the Shrine Bowl. But look for Jarrell Adams and Kelvin Rainey, who's also here now. Came early, tight end from down in Yulee, Florida. Our last game against Nebraska, Justice got his shoulder sort of bumped a little bit, and our other tight end, Buster Anderson, true freshman. So those were our 2 that went all year. And our backup was former quarterback Peyton Brady. Or is it Brady Peyton? Peyton Brady. Peyton Brady, that's his name. So Justice gets his shoulder sort of bumped down there, and I sent in the 2 tight end formation, and GA said, "Coach, we don't have 2 tight ends." I said, "Well, put Peyton Brady in." No. He said he got hurt in pregame warm-ups. So anyway, Justice went in at halftime and sort of got some ice on his shoulder, or whatever, and played the whole second half. That's the kind of kid Justice Cunningham is. But we'll have more than just 2 tight ends to play this year. I guess that's what I'm saying. These guys will be ready. Jarrell Adams and Kelvin Rainey, 2 good ones.
Junior, with the recent success the team has had, how has that changed when you start to recruit players and the recognition and in the
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't say enough about just our facility upgrade the last 3-4 years. And our record. You know, some of the teams we've beat, some of the teams we've beaten in this stadium, and just the perception of our program is greater. And we've done a good job when we get guys here in the summer and they watch that highlight video and they get in the stadium, and you know, it's an impressive place to bring young men and their families here, take them to that Doty Academic Center. It's just we are as competitive as we've ever been, and people want to be a part of this program. It has changed in that we need to be selective when we offer people. Again, to have 16 people commit by the end of the summer last year means, you know, make sure when you offer a guy, a young man, a scholarship, he might commit tomorrow, and that's the guy we want. And that's what we hope happens too. We hope we can recruit guys and be selective in who we're offering and offer them and try to get them to commit. It's been a peaceful signing day today, which was kind of nice.
Question for Steve Jr. I think you flipped a kid in recent days, Chris Moody from Vanderbilt. 2-part question. What impact has the Doty made on recruiting, and how hard is it this late in the stage recruiting to flip a kid and get a kid to sign up?
Coach Ward had stuck with him all year long. And that was a big reason that we were able to really recruit him. And he just got him in here and hustled to get him in here on a visit, and spent a lot of time with him and had a great weekend, and decided South Carolina was one of the best places for him, and sold him on the university, sold him on football, sold him on the stadium, and just and Chris was excited to have the opportunity to be a Gamecock.
Steve Senior, Steve Junior just touched on it, that it was a peaceful signing day.
Yeah.
Looking back last year, I mean, how stressful was it on you guys to have to go, 2 weeks before you knew for sure that Jadeveon was gonna be in the fold?
Well, we knew that going in,
Yeah.
that he was gonna go February 14th, so we just kept recruiting him up to that point, best we could, and so forth. And really, Coach Ward was involved heavily with him also. Yeah, Lorenzo's, he's a good recruiter, and he's involved with a lot of our players as we go through. And we all double team or crossover recruit guys. Our position coach recruits them, plus the area coach also. So we try to make it a team effort. You can call me Coach Spurrier, Steve Jr. How's that for separation?
Steve Jr.
There you go.
There you
There
go.
you go.
Got
Now
me.
we know you're doing it.
Steve Jr., how much did it help? Everybody talks about y'all landing Lattimore and Clowney, but did they actually have done it on the field? And then it seems like all the kids when they come in, they always mention getting to meet Lattimore, getting to meet Clowney, kind of that they're ambassadors for the school, I guess.
Absolutely. Those guys have been great, and not only have they been great players, they're just great people. You can't say enough about Marcus and Stefan, and just great people, great ambassadors for the university, and they've done a great job when we bring guys in here and bring them over to the academic center. They've always been around, talked to those guys, and yeah, those guys have been excellent, and obviously the play speaks for itself, and that's made a big difference in recruiting.
Yeah, we make sure all the recruits try to meet Marcus somewhere.
helpful.
And he finds them out too. He hunts them. And Clowney's very good too.
He does an excellent job.
They're all super. And your players have got to be your best recruiters. They got to be your best. If they don't like it here, they'll tell them, man, we got some problems here or something. So you got, we got a good bunch of guys, really good bunch.
Several Big Ten schools today have come out and said they've given kids guaranteed 4-year scholarships. Are any of these signings today, have they been given multi-year scholarship, or are you sticking with the 1-year scholarship?
I believe they've been given the standard NC2A scholarship that everyone else in the SEC is receiving. I'm not sure what that is.
Coach Everett Sands kind of said that you called him and were excited to call him.
Me?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did you reach out to him before he called when that opening came?
We reached out to him, and I told him when I hired him, I said, you're the kind of guy I like to hire, because you didn't call me, say, hey, I'm available. I said, we called him. We knew about him through Coach Steve Jr. and Coach Elliott. They'd known him for 18 years, I think. They've coached against each other, settled on App State for quite a while. So they knew him, and he was the kind of guy we were looking for. Had some South Carolina ties, and good family guy, and I think he's an excellent coach. So he's the kind of guy we were looking for. So we sought him out. He didn't seek us out.
For both of you guys, you obviously closed real strong in the year, winning the bowl game and having 11 wins, and then in January you're able to pick up a couple of really big recruits in Chaz and Mike Davis. In dealing with those guys and talking to them and just your sense, how much do you think the fact that you were able to put together that type of season ended up helping you in closing on those guys?
That probably helped a little bit, but most players really make up their minds early. Clemson getting clobbered in the bowl game, they probably didn't lose anybody because of that. So guys make up their minds really before the season's over. Most of them do, I think. But it helps, I guess, if you win toward the end, if there's a player that hadn't made his mind up yet, but they make up their minds earlier. They really do, I believe. Most of them. There was a few on television today that were still hee-hawing around, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah. But most of the guys in our state committed early and pretty much stuck, I think, at most schools. I think. Okay, is that it? One more? Okay.
Coach Spurrier, in a couple weeks, you are heading to LA to meet the NCAA Practice Committee. Are you comfortable with how the university is prepared for that? And how do you personally feel about all this? You told us that the only other time you've been there was in 1990 in Florida when you first got there.
I think our university has done as well as we can and is prepared as well as we can be for the situation that has happened. You know, sometimes crap happens, and you just got to deal with it. And crap, it happened around here, and now we got to deal with it. Go from there. Try to find out who was at fault, or if anybody was at fault, or whatever. That's what we're trying to search for. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, all right, we'll see you guys.
You sure? I don't mind. Okay.